Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. Wait, see who can get in here real quick when we're setting up. Today, we are going to talk about community networking and survival in general. We're going to answer questions. Well, hello. All right, we've got people starting to show up. We're going to give it a few more minutes. If you have questions about survival, we're going to go ahead and start with that. I have some props here to answer the questions that we have already gotten. Um, and we'll go from there. Let's see, I'm going to try to get the links out this time because people got mad at me because apparently you don't know it's here. Um, so give me 1 second while we get this set up. How long until things are normal? That depends on how on how everybody responds. It yeah. Okay. Will there be nudity in the stream? No, at least not with the way that I'm planning this to go down. Let's see. If I'm bringing my elderly mom to live with us, should I stop volunteering? Probably. Probably. Um, or you have to start engaging in a whole lot of extra precautions. The way I was doing it when I was dropping off food is I would take it, set it on the porch, Lysol it, you know, and then text and walk away. I would have no contact with the elderly that I was helping. However, that doesn't mean that they didn't occasionally run out and try to say thank you, which was really annoying, by the way. Audio is a little low. All right. Let's see if I can. Hopefully that helps a little. Of course, now you probably hear me breathe. Um, okay. Sick and staying home. Yeah, I am. I'm on self-imposed quarantine myself. Am I worried about how people will act over food? I mean, it's a concern, but there isn't a food shortage. It's just not on the shelves because we operate on a zero inventory system. Those big box stores, they don't really have much of a back room anymore. So shows up on the truck, comes off, goes out on the floor. Once that's gone, it's gone. But there's more food on the way. What do I think of the government response so far? It has been lackluster. It hasn't been horrible, and there have been a lot of state and local leaders that have stepped up to the plate. But it's yeah, there are still a lot of things that could be done that aren't. They're sitting there haggling over putting money in people's hands right now and deciding whether or not to means test and all of this stuff. The longer that discussion goes on, the worse the problem gets. Um, the easy solution here is to give people the money, but have it count as taxable income. So if you are, above average means, you're probably going to give it away because you don't want to pay the taxes on it. You're going to give it to a charity. You're going to give it to somebody who needs it, or you're going to keep it and pay taxes on it. That's the simple solution. But okay, so I'm going to go through some questions that I've already gotten, and then one of the things that a lot of people have asked me to actually show and talk about this thing because this is what I always recommend people get for YouTube. Just so y'all know, when I start opening this up and showing the inside, this isn't copywritten. Military field manuals generally are not. So that is owned by the people. Okay. All right. So one of the big things that's coming up right now is a question about medicine because ibuprofen, according to the Europeans, well, that's not going so well. It may be having some poor reactions. Thank you, HP 111. Um, so ibuprofen, most of us call it Motrin, and the World Health Organization is recommending something paracetamol, and people are going into Walmart and CVS trying to find it, and they can't. It's because it's not what we call it here. It's Tylenol. It's acetaminophen. Um, However, when using this, I would caution because you don't want to overdose. I mean, not like, well, I'm not going to say that. You want to watch your dosage. So if you're giving acetaminophen and you are also using your favorite cold and flu, that also has acetaminophen in it. So you want to watch your dosage. Acetaminophen destroys your liver. That is, yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you say it like that, it's not quite that cut and dry, but yeah, there are, just like anything else, there are downsides. Um, I would. There's also the discussion over whether or not to let the fever run its course, because there is a very well-known doctor that's advising that. I am not a doctor. I am not a medical professional. My standard advice is follow the advice of the medical professional you're seeing, because the person, the doc, or the practitioner that you're seeing knows your case history. Follow their advice. I understand where he's coming from, and I tend to agree for me. However, what I will tell you is that in the United States, 101.4, that's the magic number. If you are in a hospital and it hits 101.4, you're getting medicated. So they give it a couple of degrees to do what it's supposed to do, but they don't let it get too high. Um, so, standard advice, follow the advice of the medical professional you're seeing. Nobody on the internet is going to have your medical history. And while I definitely understand what what that doc is saying, and he's somebody that I actually look to, um, I would remind everybody that it's not cut and dry. Fevers can be dangerous at the same time. Follow the advice of the person that knows your medical history. Um, so let's see. Yeah, bad pirate monkey brings up a good point. The focus has been on ibuprofen because that's the most common. However, this applies to all NSAIDs, which is like non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, something like that. Um, but the title of the book I just held up is Survival, FM 21-7. Uh, you can actually download this for free because it isn't copywritten. It's a military survival manual. It's a U.S. Army survival manual. They have different years available, from when they've updated it. The one that's sitting here was done in 1970. It's not hugely different than the one done today. I get them all because the stuff that's omitted in one could be useful. And again, you can download them for free, or you can pick them up at any surplus store for like $10. Yes, 1970, October of 1970 to be precise. Okay, so another question that I've been getting is about gas masks. I I don't think we're at that level yet. However, I'm not going to dissuade anybody from taking precautions. So, gas masks. The most common one you're going to find on the market right now is this guy. Now, this is a kid's one. It's a baby one. Yeah, isn't that creepy? They are Israeli made. They are, under normal circumstances, like 20 to 30 bucks. Right now, they're probably 150 because everybody's trying to rip everybody off. I have fit tested these for friends, dozens over the years. I found one that didn't work. That had it had some dry rot. So I would, I mean, overall that's a pretty good rate for a surplus product. Um, I would make sure you get it fit tested though. If you don't know how to fit test, it's actually really simple. But to make sure it's done right, your answer is to find a vet and buy a can of air freshener and just let them fit it for you. Um, Now, when you order this thing, it's going to come with this. This is a filter. Okay, it screws in the end. This is probably expired. Every single one of them I've seen that has come with ordering with one of these is expired. And we'll get to the debate over whether or not you can use it in a second. Non-expired ones are available on the civilian market. They're also relatively inexpensive. Now, you want the one with the rainbow if you're getting a civilian one. You want the one with all the colors. It provides the most protection. Super Catman, thank you. The cancellation of the Eurovision Song Contest. uh, okay, now there is a debate over whether or not you can use these. I would not trust my life to it. I would not trust my life to it. And some of the real older ones have stuff like asbestos in them. Now, I have expired filters that I keep. Last last case scenario, last ditch effort. I would not trust my life to them if I had any other option at all. There are civilian options for gas masks available. They're called respirators. That's actually what I have. I've got I think it's a 6800 or something like that. They're made by 3M, but there's a whole bunch of companies out there that make them. I would advise finding one that has 40 millimeter threads so it can take these and can take the civilian filters, keep them sealed. And let's see here. So that would allow you to take both. One of the other things that's coming up right now, there are a lot of medical professionals that are already starting to use the half mace or half face Bane looking masks, but they're running out of N95 filters. This, for example, is a multi-gas cartridge. At the end, it says /P100. 100 is better than 95. You can use these. Let's see here. Yeah, that's my phone. I'm going to get it in just a second. Though you need to shave your beard to make it properly work. Fact. Okay, so if you have a beard, especially one like mine, oh my God, let me get my phone real quick. That was incredibly annoying. Okay, so if you have a beard and you put on a gas mask, even if it's fitted, you basically threw a sweater over your head. It's not going to do a whole lot of good. You have to have a proper fit, um, and you're going to have to shave for that. Now, with the civilian ones, I've found they provide a decent fit with stubble, but not with a beard. Now, for the journalists out there that know the Vaseline trick, that works for CS and CN. That's not something you'd want to trust your life to if it was something more serious. Why haven't Texas schools closed yet? I don't know. I don't know. There are a lot of local jurisdictions that are not making the moves I would make. But it is what it is. Again, I don't think that gas masks are necessary at this moment, but there's a little primer on how they work. And again, it's not I don't think it's necessary, but once this calms down and the price returns, they're inexpensive. They're inexpensive if you're getting a surplus one. America is 2 to 3 weeks late, and yeah, we are. We are behind the curve as far as being prepared for this, which is upsetting because we have had plans to deal with this. Any thoughts about reported increases in gun sales? Fear. It's fear driven. The the idea of total social breakdown, it's going to become a reality. Most of the people that are getting them are those who probably already had firearms to begin with, um, or they're truly worried about some form of civil unrest. I don't see that as likely personally. Um, Ammunition sales, it's a lot like toilet paper for some people. They're trying to control what they can. They're trying to prepare in the way that they've been told to prepare. If if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and it's not going to do much good. Let's see. Wow, it's doing that. It's hard to keep up. Okay, let's see. I don't think you need a gun. Well, I mean, you know me. I would advise everybody have one. Like, if you are not prohibited, you should own one, know how to use it, and be comfortable with it, and keep it secure to do all of that stuff. It's like a fire extinguisher. However, I would not let the current situation be your motivation for getting one. I don't think that this particular thing is going to have a huge impact on whether or not you need a firearm. Is it true we will all get sick? Probably not. The most reliable models I've seen are showing about half, more or less, are going to contract it. But even that doesn't mean everybody's going to get sick, and certainly doesn't mean that everybody's going to need to go see a doc. All the medical people that I have talked to have said the same thing. You can treat most symptoms on your own. Worry when you start having trouble breathing, so you have shortness of breath, or you become hard to arouse, like hard to wake up. Sorry. Um, are we going to martial law? I no, no. I don't see that. I know the governor of California just mentioned something about it. That's martial law is an extreme step. There's a whole bunch of stuff that can occur between where we're at and martial law. The National Guard coming out, and I think this is what the governor actually meant, was that he would bring the National Guard out to assist in the enforcement of civil law. That's not martial law. Um, thank you, Ranma. If you are talking, when you're talking about martial law, the military commanders literally are the law. That's not something that I foresee happening. I really don't. I don't see that as something is going to occur. That is a incredibly extreme step. Um, let's see. Yeah, mobilizing the National Guard is not martial law. Yeah, I'll say that one more time. We have that in Florida. We have that almost after every hurricane. It's not martial law. They come out, they help. Florida's National Guard is great. They really are. Yeah, paracetamol is Tylenol. Well, it's acetaminophen, which is Tylenol, is what everybody would call it here. If you're looking for it, that's what you need to be asking for, because the name paracetamol is not used in the U.S. really. Um, thank you, Aaron M. Ah, yeah, we're talking about the surge hitting the hospitals relatively soon now. We're days away from that, um, and that's when we know how bad it is. Right now, everybody's guessing. Everybody is guessing. We don't know all of the information yet, and that's why it's a little, be prepared, but don't be scared. Just roll with it and uh, see what information comes out. What's better, Florida's cops or National Guard? Uh, up here in the Panhandle, in the rural parts, our cops aren't bad. They're really not. They tend to go by the spirit of the law rather than the letter of the law. I've seen a lot of cops be like, You can't do that in front of me." Not that you can't do it, you just have to be a little more discreet about it. um, as far as in South Florida, if I had the choice of interacting in a confrontational manner with the National Guard or the law enforcement in South Florida, I would choose the National Guard. They tend to be a little bit more uh, fair, a little bit more policy driven. There's a lot of bad departments in Florida, specifically in South Florida. Um, let's see. Will the production? Yes, that will help. The other thing that's been done is the release of a strategic reserve of stuff that we've had since the Cold War. Um, that is definitely going to assist. I think right now, uh, Florida has 1,000 respirators on the way. Thank you, Becca Scraps, and thank you, Cultivated Choice Genetics. The screen names here are great. Natasha Nix, after this, what permanent societal changes do you foresee for the future? I would hope that people realize that mutual aid at the community level is going to help them respond so much faster than the federal government ever will. I would hope that that is a main takeaway from this, that community networks are key to establishing any form of proper response to a major emergency. Um, it has been the state and local governments that have been leading the way, and those have been pushed by people who are active in their community, people who are part of a de facto community network. Um, build local solidarity. Absolutely. Now, for those who are going to be listening to this on the podcast, if I say something random, I am reading comments coming in from a live stream chat. Uh, thank you, Rokikas from Estonia. Thank you, Sure Shot. A San Francisco Police Department was responsible, or a South Florida Police Department was responsible for that UPS truck massacre. Yeah, yeah, that was, man, that was something else. That was all bad. I mean, not just the outcome that everybody focuses on, but the tactics used in that, using occupied civilian vehicles as cover. That's generally frowned upon by everybody. That's not good, and that happened. Um, yeah, that was all bad. But yeah, that was a South Florida department. Um, worst first day of war. Okay, lockdowns. What does that mean? It's going to vary by jurisdiction. Um, so lockdowns, what that means in New York or a major city, they may be a little bit more strict than, say, out here. Thank you, Ranma, from New York City, VA. Thanks for your videos. They're awesome. Thank you. Um, so it's in a situation where medication is scarce. What are some herbs that are powerful tools? In this situation, I don't know that there are any, because we don't know enough about it. That's the key thing, is that's why a lot of the statements that are going around, well, do this and this will help. We don't know that. We do not know that. We don't know that that's true. Um, theoretically, those that are typically seen as antivirals may help, but we don't know. That there hasn't been any testing done. So It is what it is. I'm going to go back to uh, that story about the young kid seeing the doc on the military base. What would your mom tell you to do? And stay home, get lots of rest, drink lots of fluids, do what you're supposed to do under normal circumstances. Your mom's a smart lady, you know. um, let's see. Okay. Sin- uh, there's been testing in China on certain antivirals that are effective. Yeah. I was looking at that last night, and that is not anecdotal. It's a Japanese antiviral, and I want to say the sample size was 340, which isn't ideal, but it's pretty good. I mean, that's a decent sample size, and it appeared to be incredibly effective. So there is a lot of hope um, in regards to this, and the fact that China has a lot to do with it. Um, I'll come back to that question. The fact that China has a lot to do with it is helpful in a way, because they are I don't know how to say this delicately. They're an authoritarian society, which means when it comes to responding to something like this, they have a lot more leeway as far as testing stuff goes. Because in the US, you really need consent. There, not so much. It's not ideal, not something I would philosophically agree with. However, it's there. It is happening right now. William asks, how do you battle conspiracy theorists in regards to the craziness among us here? I always try to look at why people believe a theory and work backwards. You had to figure out why they believe it. In most cases, they look at the surrounding world, they see how crazy it is, and they're looking for some sense of order. It's like when you look at a cloud and you say, "Oh, that looks like a bunny." No, it really doesn't. Your mind is trying to make sense of it. And I think that's where a lot of it comes from. They're looking for order. They're looking for something to believe in. And it's less scary to think that there is a group of people controlling the world than everything is random. Um, I think that has a lot to do with it. Okay. Let's see. Rihanna, 911 sent us to war on lies. Recession bailed out people that caused it. They're trying to bail out fossil fuel industry. Instead, invest green new deals, creating jobs, cleaning up environment so we can grow food in soil and have clean waters. Yes. Yeah, I don't really have much of a comment on that. Yeah, that's what we need to do. Our infrastructure is going to have to change. Um, we're going to have to do it. I would suggest doing it now because when we come out of this, we're going to need a jobs program more than likely. That would be a great one. We can get the economy back on track and help restructure for what we need to. Let's see. Is it worth it to industrially disinfect confirmed COVID sites for my job? It's in my line of work, and I don't know if it's worth it. How long have they been cleared? That would be my question because a lot of the disinfecting that goes on, it's really for peace of mind. If it closes down and then it takes a day to hire you and you're scheduled 2 days out, I mean, yeah, go ahead. I mean, look at the length of time this stuff survives on various surfaces. Um, most times, what's going on in those situations is really for the peace of mind of the people who are going to be coming back to work there. Um, I would imagine that in a lot of scenarios, it's already gone by the time y'all show up. But just check and then look to see how long it's going to be in between they they discovering that they needed disinfected and you guys showing up. Um, Bad drivers of Milwaukee. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. What should workers who want to self quarantine or who have been in contact with COVID-19 do if their job won't send them home? It, um, it depends on your scenario and your level of comfort engaging with people. I would point out if you are comfortable engaging and you can do this and you can risk losing your job. Um, I would point out that, I'm telling you now, I've been exposed. If I'm telling you this and you make me come to work and these other people get exposed, it's literally your fault. And there's probably going to be a lot of lawsuits about this later. Um, Lou Richardson, thank you. What precautions are you taking with your family over the virus? What should mine be doing? Uh, and thank you, Brian Church. Okay. So my situation is a little weird because of my wife's job. So my precautions are probably a little extreme for most people. We've set up the solar shower, all of that stuff. But that's because she's coming from a place that more than likely will have that stuff in it every day, guaranteed exposure. You know, Uh, if if you have the ability and you want to protect your family, stay home. Stay home. I think that that's going to become relatively mandatory soon. That everybody just stay home. And that's where I would go with it. That is your safest bet. Limit contact. Um, Wait, it's Bo's birthday. Yes, it is my birthday. They can survive on surfaces up to 3 days. Now, there's a lot of people asking questions about financing and money. Um, I would hope that I would hope that the stimulus is coming soon. Let's see. How can a gonzo journalist go out and get stories after curfew if they're not credentialed? Do you carry credentials, and who issues those outside of Pyongyang? Um, okay, so how have I done it in the past? I just did it. Um, I do have credentials, I think, that are unexpired, but press passes really don't mean much in real life. They're issued normally by a venue. You can have one that's issued by your agency, by who you work for. Whether the cops honor that is up to them. So you're going to have to talk to, if you want to be on the safe side, you want to work something out, I would talk to your county sheriff because your county sheriff is going to have the ability to issue or at least say, yeah, you're good. Um, but there is no real press pass that gives you any real privileges. It's a courtesy. And then other than that, you really have to know the law or be willing to get cuffed up if necessary. I was dumb a lot of times, and I just went and did it. I only had a couple of incidents where a cop was like, "Why are you even here right now?" And I didn't have an answer. But thank you, Nicholas Hazlitt. What do you make of President Trump in large part adopting Bernie Sanders' coronavirus relief approach? Do you anticipate he will carry this throughout the pandemic? Um, Predicting Trump is a lot like predicting the weather. Um, I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do. I think he realizes he's in over his head and he's finally starting to listen to people. Um, but that could change at any moment. He described himself as a wartime president recently, and everybody's like, "I can't believe you're saying this. It's just this." And da 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 da. I'm over here like, Yeah, well, that kind of explains the utter catastrophes he left in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria, because he didn't consider himself a wartime president apparently until now. But thank you, Michael Plant. Let's see. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. Uh, do, 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 do. Let's see. Will people on disability receive government checks? I believe so. But again, that isn't hammered out yet. They're sitting there debating it, arguing about it. The package that was approved, that's not in it. This would be yet another bill that's still being discussed. Um, we are all journalists. The First Amendment does not say ABC is the press. Fact. Fact. Um, there's that old saying, the freedom of the press is limited to those who have one, who have a press. You have one in your hand or on your lap or on your desk, whatever you're watching this on right now. You can be a journalist. Um, I am not one of those people who think that you need a journalism or a photojournalism degree to be a journalist. I don't think you have to have a Reuters number. I don't. Are you covering events around you accurately? Yeah, then you're a journalist. I mean, it's that simple. Um, no bailing out the airline industry, the cruise industry. It's a perfect opportunity for a great new deal. That's right. We could just take that money and put it into a train system. But do I think there will be an income cutoff to receive the stimulus money? I don't know. I don't know. I would hope not because I think that, people that are making more than 100 grand a year, the 4 grand is really going to matter to them. But because it's going to take time to do the means testing, and it's time we don't have. So my solution is just distribute it to everybody and then count it as income. So when it comes to tax time, you know, those that are that have more means, that have more money, they're probably going to give the money away because they're not going to want to pay taxes on it. Let's see. How should Florida handle the spring break kids? Send them home. Close the beaches. Um, close the beaches. Um, let's see. Do state or counties have food storage houses set up for their community and emergencies? There are food banks, but most times they are just utilized by people of lesser means. Um, One thing I want to keep pointing out is we don't have a food shortage. We don't. What we have is a zero inventory system. Once it's cleared out, you got to wait for the next truck. But the next truck is coming. It's not that there's not food. It's just not on the shelves. We have a distribution issue right now that will be worked out, I imagine, pretty soon. That's why you're starting to see a lot of big box stores just leave stuff on the pallets rather than putting it out. So, Michael Rice Jr., do you believe martial law is inevitable? No, no. Martial law is an incredibly extreme step. I do not see that as something that's going to happen. I do foresee the National Guard being deployed to help with law enforcement and especially help with medical treatment. But that's not martial law. Martial law is it's insane. like like when people talk about that, it's the military, your local military commander, the person assigned to that area is literally the law. That's how extreme that is. I don't see that coming. Um, do government programs like basic income fit into my worldview? The idea of everybody having what they need is my worldview. It's not that's looking at the end result. It's more about the means of how it's achieved. My worldview involves everybody doing that because it's the right thing to do, not because the government is saying you better do it. So, but yeah, in my worldview, everybody would have housing, food, all the basic necessities of life. Without that, my worldview couldn't function. That's a requirement. Let's see. Do I think Trump will pay money to voters? I mean, American workers. Yeah, absolutely. And if he doesn't, then yeah, that's going to be a mistake. I think that's probably the only move that if they're concerned about the economy, that's what they've got to do. And they've got to do it quick. But let's see. Okay, I don't see how National Guard um, helps doctors. Calling up doctors helps doctors are needed at their hospital. The National Guard can help in other ways. Um, yeah, I understand what you're saying. What's probably going to go down there is we're going to call up reservists and active duty medical professionals may end up going to advise at at hospitals. I don't foresee them pulling National Guard docs out of their hospital to then go work in a military pop-up. Um, well, I say I don't see that, but it's the military. That might happen. That that might happen. Um, like it doesn't make any sense, but from the military standpoint, the needs of the military come first. So that may actually happen. I hope not, though. Let's see. Bose Einstein, thank you. Happy birthday. Is the U.S. court system responsible to the international criminal courts, such as forcing people to vote under pandemic in the U.S., like the DNC? Um, I don't know that that would be an ICC issue. And in theory, yeah, the U.S. is, in theory, the U.S. does fall under the ICC. In theory, in practice, the U.S. does everything within its power to disrupt their activities. Um, so, why would they not want to pay taxes on it? I'm assuming that's about people of higher means. So, if you get 4 grand, once you hit certain rates, if you get 4 grand, you end up paying, um, 30, 40% on it by the time it's all said and done, or you can give it away. Um, yeah, there may be some people who will go through it to keep the 2,700 bucks. Um, I, I would suggest that by the time they do the means testing on it and go through and it's going to take too long and cost too much for it to have even mattered. Okay. Do I think there will be strings attached to the check? Okay. So this isn't without precedent. They've done this before. George Bush did this with a lesser amount. And it is what it is. What they're hoping to save the economy on some level. It's not really to help you, but they understand that if you don't pay your bills, you don't pay your mortgage, that screws the banks. It messes up other sectors of industry which are relatively safe. If those go down, the whole economy goes bad. That's what they're trying to save. It's not really to help you. Um, but I don't know that strings is the right word. But does this suggest a reprioritizing from military industrial to health focused complex prevention and Mother Earth? God, I hope so. I hope so. I've said for a long time, we got to stop being the world's policeman and start being the world's EMT. That way we can have the massive production complex that we have, and we'd be helping people instead of hurting them. Hopefully, this will this will help in that transition. Yeah, the CDC does have a chart, a handy dandy chart on what kind of uh, facial hairstyles are acceptable for N95 masks. I can tell you right now, this isn't one of them. But let's see. Have you heard of the Venus Project in Venus, Florida? It was made by a man named Jacques Fresco who introduced the idea of a resource based economy. 200 words can't sum it up. There are lectures on YouTube. I will look into it. I will look into it. I got a feeling just so y'all know, I've done everything I can in the local area. I've done everything I can to help. So I am now on self-imposed isolation. I'm 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 stuck at home, and if you know me, you know that that's driving me nuts. I need something to do. Would a bandana suffice as a face mask? It's better than nothing, but no, it is not the same thing as an N95. Let's see. Why is staying in our house for a week besides emergencies such a big deal? If it helps combat it's not. It's not a big deal. It's just I don't like being idle, uh, like at any level. Natasha Nix, our government checks a way to manipulate the election. I think that there might be some motivation on that in there, but I don't think it's going to be successful. Um, take the money, pay your bills. don't. I don't think people are going to forget uh, the initial responses here. Uh, let's see. Thank you, Aideen Musavi. What kind of social and political movements do you think we can build following the pandemic and Bernie Sanders' campaign failure? Local community networks. That's where it is. That's where the power is. That's what we have to focus on. Okay, another question that keeps coming up. I was going to do the tour where go around and help people set them up. Obviously, that doesn't appear like it's going to happen because they're basically we're going to have if they follow most models, we will have a short period of almost total lockdown, and then it's still going to be limited because it can pop back up. So what was planned here in a couple of months probably isn't going to happen. I'm trying to work out the logistics of maybe doing it via Skype or doing it via live stream. Um, getting people who we were going to go visit, have them get their group together, and then Skype with them, and then maybe put it online so everybody can learn from everybody else if you're interested in it. Um, let's see. Can you get it again? They don't know. I've been looking at the studies on that. They don't know. Um, typically, there's an immunity that is developed once you contract a virus. It may be a lifetime immunity. It may be a seasonal thing. We don't know. We don't even know that it crosses uh, within within the season yet. They just don't have that information yet. Uh, let's see. Happy birthday. Thank you. Please let people know that there are 3D open source materials for medical and first responders. Bots are at it again. It's funny. I don't actually see those comments. I don't. They don't pop up. I don't see them. I don't know why. I don't know why they would show them to you, but not to me. Filter them out for me. How would you turn a garage into a sanitation area? Okay, so if you wanted to build a makeshift decon thing, um, some faucets in your house may have an adapter that allows them to hook up to a garden hose. That would be fantastic because then you could just run hot water to wherever you need it to go. That would be great. Um, if not, you you can use a solar shower if you're somewhere warm. Otherwise, you may end up just having to deal with cold water, which is not ideal. Um, but the idea is you have a kind of like an airlock or a sally port. You have an area you walk into dirty, you clean, you leave everything that could be dirty there, and then you go in. And then you do the reverse heading out. Um, let's see, I've got an SAS survival book. It's pretty great. It is. That's a good one. It's just not as widely available or cheap in the United States. I would imagine that if you were in the UK, that would be better to get because it's probably available as widely as this thing is here. Let's see. Thank you, Titus. Garden hoses are dirty. Yeah, I mean, sure, but not as dirty as the other stuff. So, let's see. Makes life easier if your washer and dryer are in the garage. Yeah, and what you can do is bag it up. Um, that is one option there too. Let's see. Thank you, Binky. I have a friend in Alabama. The state GOP has stacked the deck on the local level. What steps can locals in the boonies take to affect change? Um, you're going to have to undo propaganda. If you're talking about the areas of Alabama that I'm familiar with, um, you're going to you're going to have to undo the programming that Republicans care about the South and care about the working class um, because they don't. Um, you're going to have to undo that programming. I used to live in Niceville. Did that? Abigail. I used to live in Niceville. Uh, yeah, I used to live off Palm. I used to live over there. Nice little community. Um, how often will you be doing live streams in the event of a lockdown? I don't know. I have no idea. I'm going to do another one tonight at 9. It's really just to help get information out, hang out. I will probably be doing a lot of them late night and doing the watch a movie type thing. Uh, let's see. Thank you, Helen Folden. Any real info on NSAIDs and cytokine response? Um, Okay, so what the World Health Organization is saying is that it's not a guaranteed downside to using ibuprofen, to using NSAIDs, um, but that there's a risk. And given the severity of what's being treated, it's better to not take any risks. That's really what it shows. Um, it's not hard, confirmed, 100% proven type of. It's not settled science, but it is significant enough to be a concern. And when you have another alternative, I you use the alternative. Um, Thank you, Briansky. What's your opinion on mandatory temperature checks? Like if you have high temp refuse test, you can't enter a public workspace. It sounds good. The problem is that there are people that don't run fevers. It's not going to be effective. It's going to be a false sense of security. The answer from everything that I've seen, the answer is shutting everything down for 21 days. um, that's the appropriate response from what I've seen. The half measures are going to be half successful. Um, let's see. People have 3D printers. Can Google open source designs for types of masks, shield holders, and parts of the medical community, first responders? Yeah, I've seen that. Um, I saw it was extremely successful in Italy, and then I guess the medical supply company threatened to sue them, and they basically told them to take a walk, which good for them. In the United States, there is there's a legal principle called the lesser of two evils, and I am fairly certain that in this case, if you're making stuff for medical professionals, they'll probably overlook copyright laws. I don't think that's going to be a thing. I don't think people are going to be worried about that. Um, let's see. Can you get arrested for running around coughing on people? You can get arrested for anything. I mean, I would imagine that there are some states that have laws on the books from a while ago that deal with the intentional spreading of disease. So probably uh, you can get it again. I've seen it both ways. I would, I think that's probably an accurate statement because I think that it is possible to get it again. I don't know how likely it is. Um, let's see. What is the rainbow wall? Is it also in your shed? Okay, no. So the shop is like way out there. And it's so far out there that I can't do a live stream from there. The Wi-Fi doesn't reach it. This is a backdrop. Um, it's just something. One of the things I noticed was that it was the background of the shop that a lot of people saw before they noticed me because I look like every redneck on YouTube. So I wanted to have something that was kind of familiar and a little weird, um, to so people be like, "Oh, that's Bo." Uh, all I want to know is when can we drink Corona beer again? As soon as it's over. Not because of the name though. Alcohol suppresses your immune system. You don't want to drink right now. I know. It's my birthday. You think I'd be live streaming if I could drink? Come on. Um, will political extremists try to try ah, try to exploit the current situation to further their own agendas? Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, absolutely. Uh, that's absolutely going to happen. Never let a crisis go to waste. If you are in politics, that is rule one. Let's see. Uh, I don't know if it suppresses the immune system, but you shouldn't be smoking. So maybe you can make it edible in some fashion. Uh, okay. Who is getting richer? Who's getting rich on this crisis? Let's see. There's a legal precedent for the government allowing copyright infringement. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Here's a fun, weird historical fact for you. One of the most sought after versions of the 1911, which is a very popular handgun used during World War II, was manufactured by Singer, the sewing machine company. Like everybody wants to get their hands on one. Uh, let's see. Thank you, Uncle Dut. Uh, read type O blood is more resistant to the virus. I've seen the initial studies on that. I haven't actually looked at them yet, so I don't know. I don't know how accurate they are, because a lot of studies come out and they're more anecdotal than studies. But I have seen that that I think it's type A is more susceptible. Uh, Thank you, Cody Sexton. For years, my friends and family have poked fun at me for being a prepper. Yeah, well, all validated at the moment, right? uh, I need help delegating and organizing. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. Let's see. How would the money come? A check in the mail? Yes. That's my understanding. A check in the mail, or maybe even direct deposit. I don't know. Probably a check in the mail. It's how it came last time. Yeah, preppers all over the country right now are like, "See, we told you." Um, and there are a lot of people that need stuff that don't have access to it and didn't plan ahead. And that's why if you are a prepper, you should always set aside something to give to the community because they're going to need it. Let's see, sure shot. Thank you. 1 week case of Mills MREs are $200. Oh my God. No, don't do that. No, absolutely not. um, yeah. So a case of MREs is $60. That's the most you should pay for it. They're not that great. One of the other props I had, because I figured this would come up, is sitting right here. These are available at Walmart. They're $20. They have 55 servings in them. It is a 48-hour kit for 4 people. Um, I'm not eating MREs. I don't care. Yeah, I know a lot of people that are like that. They're like, no, I'm done. I've done it. I'm never doing it again. 10% digestible plastic. Uh, Thank you, Candy Roach. How long do you plan on being in isolation? People are still not taking this seriously. It seems like this is going to prolong how long the people who are already in isolation are. Uh, because of my situation and my wife's job, probably a while. Because as long as it's active, I could be infected because she could bring it home. So I'm already kind of gearing up and for a while. Um, I don't know how long. Can you use CPAP as a ventilator? No, no. Th- I think BiPAP is something they're trying to make it work. I mean, CPAP is better than nothing. You know, it's like oxygen therapy is better than nothing, but it's not. It is not ideal. It's not going to replace a ventilator. Um, let's see, but yeah, just for people who do prep. I'll tell you right now what medical facilities, at least in rural areas, apparently need. They don't have washable hazmat suits. Like they just don't have them, which they may need those in reserve. So, given the fact, the reason that you probably have one or five or whatever isn't happening right now, it might be worth letting them use them. Obviously, masks, stuff like that. I'm very concerned for the safety of medical staff. Yeah, they're taking a yeah, they're taking a hit right now. Somebody's telling me to block the bots. I don't know why. They're not showing up. Oh wait, I just saw one. What is that? So are they actually okay? So are the bots providing questions that are semi related to the topic? Weird. All right. Uh, Thank you, Amanda. Should people be planting gardens, home canning, etc., to help relieve the strain on the system? Yes, always. Like right now, 6 months ago, like that should always be a thing. Um, I'm trying to cycle through the bots as they come up. So, read there have been a corona strain going around end of last year. Me and my coworkers got sick, fever, and a 2 week cough. Any validity to that? Okay, so I've been looking into this. This is kind of cool. There is a theory, and it is a theory, but it is floated by not crazy people, which is cool. Um, that there was a weaker strain of this that has already been here. Um, my understanding is that they have found cases going back to January, which would be nice, because that means there's a lot more people that have immunities in theory, than we know. That would be cool, but we don't. But we're not certain that that's a thing. Um, so okay, what's your definition of crazy? Um, in regards to that, those that are spouting things that just are not backed up by science. Um, I have a very, very low threshold for false information, um, inaccurate information during an emergency, especially if it's for self profit. Um, that's like talk about a pet peeve. That's one of them. Um, so let's see. They're not bots, just creative workers. Oh, well, I mean, but y'all both said the exact same thing at the same time. That's a little weird. Keep doing live streams during isolation. Probably, probably. I feel like this kind of one of the things that I can do, um, that can help. And since I'm locked down and can't get out right now, I'll definitely be doing it. Um, see. Now, I saw something about bringing back retired nurses and professionals. If you, yeah, if your licensing is still up to date, give them a call. Give them a call. I'm sure they can use you. Uh, no one believes I'm from Florida. Okay, now that's a weird theory. Let's see. What do you know about PTSD? I just found out I have it after 20 years. Wow. Um, so I'm gonna assume that what you, I don't even know if that's true. Okay, so PTSD has a lot of different factors to it. Um, it depends a lot on why you have it. Uh, so as far as counteracting it, it really depends. The end result is you're going to have to address whatever it is that caused it. It's not a short thing; it's a long process. Um, if it is, yeah, this is something you're going to need. You're going to need help with, more than likely, because it sounds when they first start talking about it, they're like, "Oh, you got hypervigilance," and you're like, "That's cool, I can roll with that." And then the more you find out about it, the more you're like, "Ah, okay, maybe I do need some help." Uh, is there a way you can donate directly? Patreon, that's one way. Kim Walden, thank you. Thank you for the birthday wishes, everybody. Uh, so if I'm getting this right, is it basically those that say tap on my photo are the bots y'all are talking about? Okay, I'm trying. Give me a second and I'll try to weed them out real quick. Oh, and the more I look at the profile pictures and screen names, yeah. Okay, okay. Impact on women's shelters. That is definitely going to be a thing. Randy, thank you. Sure shot. Thank you. I'm a big knife collector. What knife do you carry? A Spyderco Para and a Swiss Army knife. Um, that was actually another question that. So I've got a. This is going to be really boring to most people, but I have a Sykes Fairburn that's apparently visible in the background, and a lot of people have been asking if they should get one. I'm like, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you know what it's for, and that's really what you want to use it for. But if you're gonna use something for survival, I'd get a K bar or something like that. Thank you, Gregory Riggs. So if you get this, then what? Sounds like they treat you like a science project and walk off and let you suffer. You are a science project. Uh, this is, man, yeah, this is one of those things where it's something new. They're trying to figure it out. And those, there are people. There's somebody in the United States who's already been injected with a vaccine. That person is taking a huge risk for all of us. Um, and that there is, I mean, there is an element of truth to that. You are a science project because the medical professionals that are working on the research that are trying to do this are trying to make it as manageable as possible. And right now, that requires experimentation because they don't know that they don't have enough information. Um, so it is what it is. I've seen a lot of people asking about that 201 thing. Drills and tabletops, they occur all the time for various reasons. You will always be able to find a drill or a tabletop exercise that lines up with some event. I mean, I'm certain there's one happening right now. Um, there are like there's active shooter drills that occur like every day. And probably not right now, but under normal circumstances. So it's not surprising that there's always a drill that lines up with another one. Um, I was at conferences dealing with this exact subject in oh something 2000 something early 2000s. So if if something had happened at that moment, an outbreak had occurred, somebody would be pointing to that as saying, "Look, they were studying it." It doesn't necessarily mean that that's the case. Thank you, Unreal Punk. End date for self quarantine. I don't have one. Don't have one. And thank you for the birthday wishes. I got a question. What do you think Trump refers to? This is a Chinese virus and therefore creating. It's Trump being Trump. Um, you know, being an idiot to own the libs type of thing. Um, I I think we're going to end up having to just ignore his stupidity eventually. Um, it is what it is. When this is over, our stock's gonna go up. Probably. I mean, historically speaking, that's what normally happens. At the end, they don't go up like super quick though. um, but yeah, if you have some extra cash, yeah, sure, why not? But I would suggest that there are uh, anytime there's crisis, there's opportunity immediately afterward. And I would suggest that you focus on things that can help you, um, that you're good at, that you can make direct efforts with, and put your money there rather than relying on the stock market. Um, let's see. I see a lot of people saying that if we go into a depression, it'll be like the 30s and we'll be hunting rabbits for food. I don't think so. Um, I mean, maybe, sure, it could happen, but I mean, it seems unlikely. I don't, I don't think it's going to get that bad. I don't. It could, but it seems unlikely. But again, it, I'm less concerned because of where I live. I don't. Those types of scenarios don't worry me that much because if that's the case, I literally walk out back. Um, if I was in a city, I would probably take those scenarios a little bit more a, a, a little bit more seriously. Um, what what's scarier, coronavirus or 9/11 the day it happened? Uh, yeah, I actually sat around with some other guys playing Risk and drinking beer on 9/11. Um, I mean, the second plane hit, we all knew what that meant long term. So, well, we got to get out there, you know. Um, so I, I was in a different mindset back then. So I didn't see 9/11 as scary. I saw it as a call to action. Mm. Okay. Okay. So since we're sitting here and okay, I have basic survival equipment such as hunting knife, hand shovel, hatchet, matches. How can I help other people with this stuff? Right now, you can, and hopefully, hopefully that stuff never comes into play. That's the stuff that you have when things go really bad. So you have different levels. You have the survivalists, those people who are prepared when everything breaks down. And then you have preppers, and preppers tend to prepare for various scenarios and they have stuff on hand. Survivalism is more about having the skills and the basic tools to make do. Um, that is why going back to this, that's why I recommend this. It literally will go through and show you different animals that you can eat. It shows you how to make shelter, what food is available, how to cook and clean different animals. It shows you how to navigate. If you're going to get involved in it, get this. When it comes down to surviving in a really bad situation, knowledge weighs nothing. Everything else you have to carry. The more knowledge you have, the less stuff you have to. Um, and eventually you get